again to have another look at a bit of James, and we're going to look at part of chapter 3 this morning, which is entitled Taming the Tongue. I'll read a bit of it to you. It says, "If anyone is never at fault in what he says, he is a perfect man, able to keep his whole body in check. When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships as an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse men who have been made in God's likeness. Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers, this should not be." And there's some more bits and pieces in there, but that's the main bulk of this teaching that James is giving us on what we should say, how we should speak, when we should know when to maybe shut up and not speak. It's really difficult, isn't it? Because I guess every single one of us here this morning listening to this is going to be able to easily bring to mind a situation where we said something that we really, really wish that we hadn't have said. It's part of the human condition, isn't it? We go around and we want to be kind, and we want to be generous, and we want to be nice to people. And yet there comes those times where we're really not nice to people. And, you know, it happens in different situations, doesn't it? I guess our families that are meant to be the safest places that we can be. That's why God designed them, so that there was somewhere that we could be safe. But I know I'm probably much more likely to say something to a close family member that I would never dream of saying to anybody else. Maybe that's partly the safety, or maybe that's partly because I feel freer, or I don't know, but I know that I've said things in the past to my family that I really shouldn't have said. And then we look at our churches, and our churches, again, you know, we're called to be part of a church family together, and we're meant to, you know, Jesus brought us together to support each other and to uphold each other, to be there for each other. And yet probably we've all got examples of where things have been said in church, and they've really hurt. And sometimes it hurts even more, because us Christians, we're not meant to be nasty to each other, are we? We're meant to be measured, we're meant to be thoughtful, we're meant to take into account the other person's feelings. And that's before we even get into, you know, other parts of society and our normal everyday lives. And again, it's sometimes really difficult, isn't it? Because as followers of Jesus, we're supposed to make stands on some things. We're supposed to say, well, actually, I do believe this. We're supposed to show Jesus. And sometimes that comes with saying things that Jesus said, and it can be really, really challenging to be those people that show grace and show love and show kindness, but also stand on points where we say, well, actually, I do believe Jesus is the way and the truth and the life. That kind of thing. It's really difficult. And as much as we try, sometimes we are responsible. We have to hold our hands up and say that we are responsible for setting off that small spark that starts a massive fire and can lead to irreversible damage. As much as we really don't want that to be the case. And the thing is, we all know, don't we? The sadness of it is that we all know of people that have walked away from Christianity because of what Christians have said. Even if those Christians thought that they were really right in what they said. And it's a challenge. And that's the reality of it. It is a challenge to know. A challenge to be sure that our words are going to bring light and hope and grace and truth without doing any damage. And it is a tricky, tricky place to be. And we want to be kind, but how do we be kind? Well, James gives us like the fundamental example here, and he talks about putting a bit in a horse's mouth, or also steering a ship by the rudder. And you know, we used to have horses, and a bit in its mouth on the bridle would transform that horse. So I mean, our horses weren't, they wouldn't have won the Grand National anytime soon, but you leave them in the field on their own and they are just this powerhouse of untamed energy, and they would sometimes just bomb wildly around the field, galloping up and down, causing destruction in their wake, ripping up all my carefully seeded areas and turning the ground to mush, and not caring at all what devastation they left in their wake. And yet you got hold of them and you put their tack on and you put the bit in their mouth and got on board, which is the safest place to be if you're anywhere around a horse, because then you have the control and you've still got all that power and you've still got all of that ability to do amazing things, but now it's tamed and now it's under control. So you haven't just turned this incredibly powerful beast into something that's weak and feeble, but you've got that power under control. And that analogy, that putting the bit into the horse's mouth, has to be an analogy of allowing Jesus to direct us, allowing Jesus to direct our thoughts and our ways and the ways that we walk. So if we allow Jesus into our lives, then we're going to be more under control. But it's still difficult, isn't it? Because we probably, if we're followers of Jesus, we know that, and yet we know that we still get it wrong. We know that we're not under control all of the time. So here's an idea of something that we can do that will maybe enable us to be more thoughtful in our words. And that is to do the opposite. That is to not think about speaking, but actually to think about taking the time to be still and to be silent and just to slow down. And I've been reading around this subject lately, a couple of really, really good books. If you'd like some recommendations, let me know. But there is something, I think, very, very powerful in allowing us to have daily the time just to be still. And I'm not talking about, Christians have a quiet time. Some Christians have what they would call a quiet time, which is where they would take time to read their Bible and they would take time to then pray. But prayer is still words, prayer is still bringing our requests to God, telling God how we're feeling, all of that kind of stuff. This is more about just being still in the presence of God, because the world even has caught up on this, hasn't they? Our society is promoting mindfulness at the moment, and there is scientific evidence that that does you good. just being still and being quiet and being mindful actually has been proven to do you good. So oh my goodness, if you're going to be still and quiet and slow down, but in the presence of Jesus, just to actively seek his presence and sit with him and be quiet with him, it's going to, as one of these books said, it's going to allow our souls time to catch up with our bodies. In this incredibly busy world that we find ourselves in, the practice daily of being still and being quiet will allow our souls to catch up with our bodies. And when our souls catch up with our bodies, then maybe we will find it easier to be gracious to people who might, Christian or not, have different viewpoints from ours. If we've been used to sitting in the presence of Jesus and being surrounded by the knowledge of his love for us, then maybe we're going to find it easier to take that love out as our primary action rather than our words. Let's take our love out as our primary action. Things aren't easy. It's not easy. We go out with the best of intentions and then we come home and we fail, and no doubt we will carry on doing that, because we're not going to be perfect. But I'm guessing that our words will be more measured and will likely be more helpful if before we start to speak we spend time in the quiet presence of Jesus. Hope you have a great week. God bless.